Hello, I have a very sad story to tell you. There once was a woman who was very, very wonderful, very, very delightful woman, very caring. And she was so sensitive and so caring, and she had just come through some real challenges in her life. And so she wasn't really looking to be involved in another relationship. But lo and behold, along came a man who was so charming and so wonderful. In fact, it seemed that they were a perfect match. And in some ways, she was distrusting and wondered, how could he be so wonderful? I mean, he's just wonderful. He said all the right things, he did all the right things, and his strength seemed to dovetail with her vulnerability, and so she felt stronger in his presence. She felt safe in his presence. She felt very, very cared for. And in fact, sometimes it seemed that he went overboard and bought her gifts and just seemed to know exactly what to do for her, so that she started to feel really safe in his presence. And in fact, she seemed to grow beyond some of her earlier wounds. She had wounds in her life. She had some broken relationships in her past. And so she was so afraid that she would be hurt again. And so she was careful at first, but then, my goodness, his kindnesses and his goodnesses and his gifts and his attention and his flattery and just all of these things that he did were so mesmerizing for her. She didn't realize that she was feeling mesmerized. She didn't really understand that at the time, but soon later, she did look back and notice that maybe something was going awry. But at the time, everything just seemed wonderful. He said the right things, did the right things, very engaging, very attentive, very attuned to her, and everything went along so wonderfully that they became more and more involved. She gave her heart to him more and more, and finally there was a tipping point when she just gave herself completely to him. Things went very, very well for her and her knight in shining narcissism. And it wasn't until some time later that something began to go wrong. And it was really unclear what exactly was going wrong. And it was confusing to her. What seemed to be happening is that whenever he was feeling vulnerable in any way, he would use all kinds of unhealthy mechanisms to not feel vulnerable. Whenever she would offer even the slightest criticism, he couldn't handle that. He was so easily offended. And whenever he became easily offended, he would turn the tables on her. He would deflect what she had to say. He would blame her for maybe doing the same things that she was accusing him of. He would do things that would protect himself and would harm her. This was so confusing to her because she so fell in love with him and he was so wonderful at the start of the relationship. How could this be? He had just offered her so many gifts and so many wonderful things, but now things were turning, and it was so very confusing to her. So she began to notice that whenever she would just ask for something to be different, he would take offense at it, and when he took offense at it, he would then turn the tables on her, and he began to notice some things in his personality that really troubled her. She began to notice that he would become easily angered, easily offended. He would blame her for causing the problems. he would withdraw into silence that was so very confusing to her. He wouldn't talk to her for hours, sometimes a day or two, and she knew that she had done something wrong, apparently. And so she just combed her memory, like, what have I done wrong? What have I done wrong? What have I done wrong? And so she would try to correct it. She would do anything she could to try to bring healing back into the relationship. She didn't want him to be upset. She didn't want him to withdraw. She didn't want him to be mad. And so she would just do everything she could. She would use all kinds of mechanisms, apologize all over herself. But all the while, she would notice he didn't really apologize for anything. He didn't really take ownership. In fact, he just got angrier and got more upset and withdrew more often and distanced himself. And my goodness, what is happening to this relationship? This knight in shining armor became a knight in shining narcissism, and she was incredibly troubled. And then she decided, oh my goodness, I maybe need to start to pull away a little bit here and protect myself. But oh, he wasn't going to allow that. No, he wouldn't allow her to really pull away. He still had his grips on her. And so now she was really being tossed upside down. So she couldn't get close to him. She couldn't get away from him, couldn't get close, couldn't get away. And so she was bonded to him in what she had some senses was an unhealthy way to be bonded to someone. And yet she still loved him. She talked to her friends, and boy, they would say, get out, run for your life. But that was easier said than done. She still loved him. She still cared about it. There was still a good side to him, or what seemed like a good side to him anyway. And so this woman, now she was losing self-esteem. Some of her earlier wounds came to the surface, and now she was even more distraught. She began to physiologically have trouble. She just didn't feel healthy. She became so very exhausted in this relationship. What's going wrong? What is it? Can somebody help me? Sadly, tragically, this woman went to others for help, but she didn't get help. She went to therapists. The man reluctantly, very reluctantly agreed to go in for counseling, but boy, in counseling, he looked good. He said everything right. He was a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and so they would leave the therapy session with her not getting any help, and she wondered what had just happened here. This therapist didn't take up for her. This therapist didn't see the different mechanisms that he used, the blame shifting, the rationalization, the excuse making, throwing her under the bus. He didn't see any of that stuff. She didn't see any of that stuff. The pastor didn't see any of it. And she was told to just stay and pray and hang in there and things would get better. But things weren't getting better. Things weren't getting better at all. And she was feeling more and more unhealthy now. And now, as the days have gone by, the months have gone by, now she feels stuck and caught in this relationship. And it's so hard to get out, though she knew she needed to get out. The little bits and times that she did get away, where she went away to a friend's place, she felt healthier being away from her knight in shining narcissism. And so she knew that she had a very, very tough task ahead of her. She knew that in some way she had to bring an intervention to bear so that he wasn't empowered to do all of the harmful things that he continued to do to her behind the scenes. And so now today she is finally broken away from him. They've got a separation. And she's just now starting to feel healthier. She is now starting to look back and see what the problems were. He is now out there. He is separated. He's very angry about the separation. He continues to blame her, continues to think that she is unhealthy and that she's done a lot of things wrong. But his fragility is showing. She is beginning to see that maybe he's not as tough as he was saying. Maybe he's not as strong as he was saying. And maybe he surely is not as healthy as he was saying. So today, she is separated from him. Today, she is thinking through the relationship. Today, she is healing and getting healthier and deciding what she is going to do. It's a very difficult place for her to be in. And her knight in shining narcissism has failed to really protect her and help her feel safe. And she now knows that she has got to really think through what she's going to do in the future. Maybe the story is similar to the story you've been in, a life that you've lived, and you have to step back. You have to create an intervention, so very hard to do, breaking free from a relationship that is troubled and behaviors that he has perpetrated that keep you off center and flipped upside down and cause you so much confusion and so much exhaustion. So you too are going to have to find a safe place, a safe harbor. You too are going to have to find someone who will help you think clearly, someone who will help you decide what are the boundaries that need to be set if you were ever to think about going back to him. If this story is like yours, and if you want to talk this through, we are doing more and more work on women in distress and men who are knights in shining narcissism. You can contact us at info@marriagerecoverycenter.com, info@marriagerecoverycenter.com. I'm Dr. David Hawkins, and I want to partner with you to get healthy and for him to get healthy. And I want to help you. All right. Take care.